This week on the pod, from butter lambs to $1 million pet food, we've got headlines that churn, cheer, and maybe even crack a few eggs.
The USDA's Climate Smart reboot is shaking up who gets the money. Hint, producers come first.
Cottonseed is having a moment in the dairy barn, and Cal-Maine under fire for egg prices that soared a little faster than their profits.
We're also digging into pest-resistant plot twists, a third shot at breaking up the meatpacking monopoly, and why your dog's kibble might be keeping grain farmers in business.
Let's dig in. I'm Braden.
And I'm Savannah.
Welcome to Magnetic Ag Ears Edition.
Every week, we break down the top headlines and trends facing food and agriculture.
Fast, fun, and actually useful. Let's get it. Savannah, let me tell you something about Oklahoma's weather right now. I don't know what's happening, but there's a chill in the breeze. I took a set of pictures last night. It was cold. I had to wear a sweatshirt. Now the sun's out. It's tempting me to go outside, but it's still a breezy 65, like a cool 70. So I really don't know how to think of it.
Yeah, we are actually about in the same boat. It's been getting really, really nice in the day when the sun's out. But I went for a walk last night and it was chilly.
I thought we were over winter showing us itself in April. But it's April 15th.
Nope. We're in spring in the Midwest. Anything can happen.
We're in spring in the Midwest.
Well, Braden, we're starting to sound like an old farm report. Should we get into the episode?
I think we should. Let's get on with some quick hits.
Out with the partnerships for climate smart commodities and income's advanced markets for producers. The USDA just gave Biden's $3 billion climate initiative a new name, new rules, and quite frankly, a bit of a makeover. The big change, 65% of USDA's funding now must go directly to producers. That's pushing some project sponsors to rethink how they split public and private dollars. Originally, Biden's initiative funded conservation practices like cover crops and reduced tillage. But USDA now says the old version was tangled in red tape, sidelining the very farmers it aimed to support. To summarize, big commodity projects will likely stay funded, but smaller ones may take the boot.
A fresh study out of Penn State just gave dairy farmers a reason to look twice at cotton byproducts. Researchers found that adding 15% whole cottonseed to dairy cow diets boosted milk fat by 5% per day, making milk richer for butter and cheese production. While fluid milk consumption has dropped, U.S. demand for milk fat, think butter, cheese, and cream, is booming. According to the USDA, Americans hit record highs for dairy solids, even as they skip the glass. Led by Professor Kevin Harventine, the Penn State team found that milk fat jumped up by 0.2% concentration. No drop in feed intake or protein yield. No harmful effects from gossypol, a natural compound in cottonseed. Even better, cottonseed's slow fat release supports the cow's rumen health, avoiding a major issue, milk fat depression, which can slash fat yields by up to 50%. Funded by Cotton Incorporated and the USDA, this study opens doors for cost-effective, sustainable feed solutions and gives ag producers another tool to meet evolving consumer preferences. The bottom line, more fat in milk equals more value on the shelf.
Third time's a charm, ? After failed attempts in 2021 and 2023, a bipartisan group of senators is reintroducing the Meat and Poultry Special Investigator Act of 2025. The goal? To break anti-competitive behavior where just 4 companies control 85% of beef packing and 67% of pork. This bill would create a USDA-led team of investigators tasked with enforcing antitrust laws and coordinating with the DOJ and FTC to add some type of federal oversight. Senators say it's about leveling the playing field for producers and consumers, but the Meat Institute opposes it, saying the real problem is overregulation, not lack of enforcement.
The U.S. egg industry just got a jolt. Cal-Maine Foods, the country's largest egg producer, who is responsible for 1 in every 5 eggs, is officially under investigation by the Department of Justice for potential price manipulation. The DOJ's Antitrust Division is looking into recent record-breaking egg prices, which averaged $5.90 per dozen in February, up 10.4% year over year, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Cal-Maine's Q3 profits tripled to over $508 million, even as it battled bird flu, which has already led to the loss of 166 million birds nationwide, of mostly egg-laying hens. The company sold a record 331 million dozen eggs, while prices jumped nearly 80% year over year. What does this mean? With food inflation and supply chain shocks already hitting farmers and consumers hard, the ag industry is watching closely. If price gouging is confirmed, this could reshape how regulators and producers navigate crisis era pricing. After the news broke, shares in the company dipped over 4%.
Wow, what a week in food and agriculture. Lots going on.
Savannah, there's always a lot going on in food and ag, but this week I feel like we're kind of all over the board.
I would agree. Lots of good news, bad news, and interesting news.
I know. Speaking of interesting, are you ready to get into this week's main headline?
Let's go.
So, we're talking bugs, genes, and nature's own backup plans in this week's headline story. A new study may have just flipped the script on how pests become resistant to Bt crops, and it could be a game changer for farmers planting genetically engineered corn.
Here's the dirt. Researchers from the University of Arizona and Nanjing Agricultural University discovered that a certain Bt protein, Cry1AB, kills pests using two different toxin pathways. Normally, Bt proteins work by binding to specific receptors in a pest's gut. But over time, pests evolve, and usually, if they mutate one of those receptors, they can dodge the Bt bullet. That's how resistance forms.
Savannah, that sounds great, but they're telling me there's a plot twist. Cry1AB doesn't rely on just one receptor. It uses two separate sets. Think of it like a plan A and a plan B. So for a pest to survive, it needs to mutate both pathways. And that's pretty rare. In layman's terms, pests have to win the genetic lottery twice just to beat it.
The study compared the Cry1AB variation that Braden was just talking about to the more common Cry1A variety, which has seen slower resistance development. This variety only uses one pathway. The conclusion helps explains a long-standing mystery. Why do some Bt proteins hold on better in the field than others? And it could help biotech companies design future Bt crops that are much more resistant proof.
Savannah, it backs up this idea of using quote unquote pyramided traits, combining multiple Bt proteins that kill pests in different ways. So essentially, the more routes you have to take out a bug, the less likely it is to find this detour or find a way out of it. It all comes down to smart resistance management. Once pests become resistant, there's no easy way to reset this. So you're looking at lost yields, more chemical sprays, and of course, frustrated farmers in the field.
Yeah, I think it's most important to recognize that the research underscores the importance of integrated pest management practices and could help inform future policies to sustain the effectiveness of Bt crops. Bottom line, farmers should start thinking about pest protections as we get ready to head into the next growing season, which is quickly approaching.
I know, I can't believe it's already growing season again. It's crazy to see everybody kind of talking online and talking at community events about getting things ready here and there, or talking about their family in other states getting things ready for their growing seasons as well. So it's kind of always a hot topic in farming.
Yeah, definitely approaching quickly. All right, should we get into our live reaction? See what fun topics are happening in food and ag this week?
Let's see what's going on. Let's see what we got.
Awesome. So I wanted to deep dive into a research reported by themeatpoultry.com. And I know here at Magnetic Ag, we both love our pets. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of reveal some of the impact that the pet food industry has on agriculture.
This is really awesome. I'm ready to hear you break it down. But I must say, as someone that did an animal science degree in college, for those of you that don't know, I have an animal science degree. We did very little pet information. It was always like a small little section that was tacked on the end of semesters that it was, we may or may not get to this information. So I'm really interested to hear about this today.
Well, I hope I blow your mind. To start with, pet food industry as a whole uses a whopping 9.4 million tons of ingredients, so think proteins and carbs, which equates to about $13.2 billion worth of ingredients.
That's a lot of tons of ingredients.
That's a lot of food for animals.
It's a lot of food, which I get it. My dogs are a little obese. They eat a lot. So felt that.
I mean, I just have a cat, so he don't eat much, but
We have three
still.
dogs, for those of you that don't know.
Okay, so leading the pack to No surprise for myself is chicken coming in at 2.1 million tons, which equates to $1.8 billion. But the most expensive product that we see in pet food is marine ingredients. So think fish meal and fish oils, which totaled $3.5 billion.
That's pretty crazy. And I'm also not surprised that it's chicken. Our dogs eat specifically a chicken blend, like that's the flavor they prefer. So, and it's chicken based, which is really interesting. But Savannah, I would really like to know what else they use to make pet food because there's got to be more than just that, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Pet food is also a big user of grains, so think corn, wheat, and soybeans, which made up a huge portion of volume, contributing nearly 1.6 million tons of food. That's a lot.
That's absolutely insane. So this kind of makes me want to know. I'm kind of intrigued because you go in the grocery store and you see dry pet food, but then you also see sometimes they have a cooler that has human grade pet food and things like that. So what kind is driving the most demand?
Wow, you're just asking such great questions today, Brayden. So you were right. Our dry pet food, specifically dry dog food, is dominating the food pet industry, making up 5.4 million tons in sales last year. That category alone brought home almost $19.7 billion. That's a lot of money to be spending on pet food, in my opinion.
Those are some pretty big numbers. How do they have an impact on ag markets?
So they absolutely impact our markets. I mean, that's a lot of tons going to these pets. The report really points out the growth potential for ag producers when we start to think about how we can keep getting more ag products into pet foods, for especially for byproducts or specialty grains that might not fit our food grade market. So think rendered fats, meals, and lower grade grains. Pet food is a great way to add value to these byproducts.
I really like that it's a good opportunity to use, all parts of the animal and all the byproducts we're producing. So I think it sounds like pet food has the opportunity to help make agriculture more sustainable.
I think you're right.
Awesome. So Savannah, do you and Colby have any big Easter plans?
Unfortunately, not super fun or exciting this year.
Well, I think the story I found today for live reactions kind of gave me some more ideas on how I might want to spend my Easter.
I think it can get everybody excited about how they might want to add some spark to their Easter table.
Yes. All right. So hear me out. Butter lambs. No, no, not what you're thinking. Not buttered leg of lamb. Literal lambs made of butter.
So I'm actually not surprised by this one because Colby's aunt, I think, at Christmas time had buttered Christmas trees, but I'll let you keep going.
That's actually really funny. So, this is a thing apparently, and I guess it's pretty popular in the Midwest. So, go Midwest. Think you've got multiple call outs today. These little creatures, these buttery creatures, as the article referred to them, show up at Easter dinner across tables in Polish American communities, like think Milwaukee, Buffalo, places like that in the Midwest. So they don't just put this butter on the table that's shaped like a lamb. They deck it out in red ribbons, carry little Alleluia flags. They're called, and please forgive my pronunciation, Baranek Welknoxny? Wilknockney? I don't know. Something to that effect. It translates to, you guessed it, Easter lamb. And they have a whole lot of symbolism, of course, the religious background in the Easter holiday, the lamb representing Jesus Christ, the red ribbon symbolizing his blood, and the tradition also comes to the US from Catholic immigrants from Central and Eastern Europe. Turns out, if you're giving up dairy for Lent, churning cream into an adorable Jesus lamb butter sculpture is a pretty wholesome comeback.
These little lambs sound a lot more pizzazz and dressed up than the sculpture butter we had at our Easter, but I definitely love that it really stands for something and has a unique way to bring butter back onto our tables.
So in Buffalo, Savannah, they take this, I guess, really, really seriously. The Małżeski family, excuse my pronunciation, I don't speak Polish, has been selling butter lambs since the 60s at Broadway Market. Someone has even dubbed it the Vatican of dairy based decor.
That's wild. I For this Easter, I'm saying the heck with the Easter bunny. Let's make more fun little Easter lambs out of butter. And can we talk about the flex of putting an entire religion so much effort into a single little sculpture that is going to be eaten.
Shout out to those people, man. The Midwest Catholics are a different breed. I think it's pretty iconic if you ask me. I mean, it's butter.
Butter, the possibilities are endless with butter. Who doesn't love butter? So, what a fun little way to spice things up, get things interesting.
I don't think the dairy aisle or my family Easter is ever going to be the same.
Definitely will never be cooler.
Put butter lambs in your Easter egg baskets.
Yeah, full support here. All right, that's enough. We're leaving.
We're leaving. Have a great time with all your families. We're sorry. Too much on the butter. Spread it on too thick for you. We're sorry. Hungry for more?
Subscribe to our twice weekly newsletter for more industry news right in your inbox.
Or follow along on socials at magnetic.ag for more trends and headlines.
Thanks for listening to Magnetic Ag Ears Edition.